I've lived in Clackamas County for going on about 20 years, and a lot has changed in the time that we've lived here. We've lived in town here in Canby for the entire time that we've lived in Clackamas County, but we didn't get far from home. We grew up close by. I was raised on a family farm that's been in my family since the mid-late 1800s in an area that I would consider to be the North Willamette Valley, which would encompass towns like Canby. I would argue also Wilsonville to a point. Some might disagree with me on that. It includes towns like Aurora, Hubbard, Woodburn, Molalla, Mount Angel, Silverton, that would be considered the North Willamette Valley. And for folks who are moving here, want to give you a good sense of what you can expect from a local's perspective. And there's a lot of pieces that we can talk about with that. What goes into a local's perspective, the tips that you need to be aware of, the things that you should plan for. Well, one of those things is definitely going to be property taxes. What's your property tax bill going to be like here in Clackamas County or in North Marion County, which includes some of those little towns that I mentioned? What about the insider tips, what to look for when you come and visit? We'll talk about that too, what you need to think about checking out if you're going to be coming to this part of the world. And if you're coming here from Portland, you're relocating, maybe it's time to get out of Portland. You want to find a place to live that gives you more elbow room, that maybe gives you some more space, different lifestyle than you're accustomed to. Maybe you're coming here from out of state. I hope this video is going to be helpful for you, because if I were moving to a place that was new to me and I didn't know where to start, I'd want somebody to break it down for me. So let's take the time today, you and I, let's have a chat from a local's perspective, somebody who actually lives here, the things that you need to know. So let's break it down. So first of all, let's talk about a big one for a lot of people. That's property taxes. What can you expect to pay in property taxes in this part of the world? So first of all, let's talk about the state of Oregon. Basically here in Oregon, the way that property taxes are assessed is not based on the purchase price of your home. Your property taxes are not calculated based on that amount. Rather, they're going to look at what they call a tax assessed value. So if your house is $700,000, that's what you paid for it, but your tax assessed value is $600,000, for instance, then that $600,000 is what they'll use to calculate your property taxes. So what are the property tax rates? They vary by county, and of course you get into the cities and towns within a county, each area is going to have its own additions to those taxes. So in Clackamas County, the average tax is around 0.85%, and in Marion County, it's closer to about 1%. So then let's talk about what that looks like getting into the actual cities. Each city might have a special assessed bond, like a levy that passed, to tack on some extra funding for schools or other improvements or new police stations that will get paid for in those property taxes. So for instance, in the city of Canby, you can look at, in addition to the county taxes, around a $3.98 per thousand mill rate for your property taxes. And every city's different. Molalla, for instance, another town that's nearby, you're looking at about $5.30 per $1,000 of tax assessed value. Oregon City, you're looking at about $5.04 per thousand assessed value. But Oregon City, we've got a little asterisk, because in the November 2024 election, the folks in Oregon City proper, the city limits, voted for a bond measure to fund improvements for the school district, and that's going to be adding another $1.23 to your mill rate. So that is a big thing that came down in November of 2024. So those taxes are going to be going up, and for the average price home, that represents about a few $100s a year in property tax increase coming to Oregon City. These types of things happen pretty frequently. They often do these bond measures to raise funds. I would absolutely recommend looking at tax information or whatever's happening with local legislation so that you can understand what those property taxes are going to be looking like for a property in an area that you're most interested in. So then, now that you know about property taxes, where do you live? What town, what city do you pick if you're going to be wanting to consider the Clackamas County or the North Willamette Valley area? The good news is small town life is pretty diverse. It brings a lot of different things to the table, and you have your choice of different types of living and lifestyle. So one thing that we do have in common out here, all the towns that make up this area, is we're not far from nature, which is really great. Canby, for instance, has Molalla River State Park. It's a great place to go and take your dogs. There's a big open field dog park where you can let your dogs run. If you have a boat, you can put it in the river there. There's some pretty easy hiking trails, which is great if you want to take the kids out there or just want something, an easy stroll, for instance. As far as Molalla is concerned, Molalla is right there at the Cascade foothills. You can drive up into the hills of Molalla, up along the Molalla River corridor. There's trails up there. One of my favorite trails of all time is the Table Rock Trail that is way up the Molalla River corridor. It is worth the drive. It is a 6-mile hike, but you're close to that. But really, Silverton, you got Silver Falls State Park, which is a lovely, wonderful place to visit. If you like to hike around waterfalls and hike behind waterfalls, it's very cool. Definitely want to check that out. So lots of nature within easy reach when you live in this part of Oregon. There's always something going on. Molalla is home to the famous Molalla Buckaroo that happens over the 4th of July every single year. It's a fun family and community event that in Canby. You have the Clackamas County Fairgrounds, which hosts several events. There's a brew fest. There's the obvious Clackamas County Fair and Rodeo, which happens every year in August. There's the Renaissance Festival that comes through every year. And that's just the summer. And there's festivals and things that happen through all these little towns, farmers markets and car shows. And really, if you like to have little things to do or big things to do, a really cool thing, I think, maybe I'm a little biased about Canby because that's where we live, is there's lots of farms, lots of places to go to get vegetables and fruit. TMK Farms, which is just outside of town, is a really awesome place to visit because you can get farm-made cheese on site. You can visit the cows that make the milk that they use to make their awesome cheese. And it's just a really sweet, fun place to visit. That is not something that you see every day, where you can really get that true farm-to-table experience. And that is what is so lovely about this area, is you have that. You don't get that in a lot of parts of the Portland metro area, but you do get that out here, and it makes it so special. So no matter where you're looking, definitely look for those lifestyle elements, those events, those things to do. The restaurants, the grocery stores, all of those pieces will play a part and play a role in the decision that you end up making. But ultimately, when you decide where you want to live, I think you're going to have a lot of options when you look at this area. By now, perhaps you've decided or honed in on a few areas you're interested in. Maybe that property tax conversation had a part of that. Maybe hearing about the variety of things to do out here is giving you some ideas. So what's the next logical step? I would absolutely suggest planning a visit to this area and pretending you're a tourist. Just take the time, take in the sights and the sounds and all the things happening. That is going to be the best way for you to feel what the community is all about, for you to see it through your eyes, walk the streets, talk to people in the community to see, just get their take on things is always helpful. Always nice to talk to the neighbors, right? So what does that entail? If you're going to plan a visit, what do you need to be prepared for? Let's break down a few things that I would suggest from a local's perspective. If you're going to come to Canby, so we'll just start with that. If you're going to come to Canby for your discovery trip, I would suggest starting at a local coffee shop. We have a few in town. We have a few drive-through options, but if you really want to get a feel for the hustle and bustle or the flow of things in town, definitely you're going to want to go to Gwen's Willamette Coffee House downtown, or you're going to want to go to Bee's Bake Shop. Both of those are excellent places to sit down, enjoy a great cup of coffee, get a pastry, people watch, and maybe strike up a conversation with the folks at the table next to you if you want to just see what's going on, see where they're from, see what they think about living in the area. And then from there, I would just poke around in downtown. There's lots of awesome businesses and shops that you can window shop or go into. There's boutiques like Blush Out West, the Barn Door Boutique. The Book Nook is a great locally owned bookstore with a wonderful array and a diverse collection of books. So no matter what your flavor is, you'll find it, and the owners are wonderful and super nice people. We have around the corner Tin and Paisley, and then by that time, maybe you've worked up an appetite again and you're ready to have some lunch. Then I would suggest going to the OC Brewing, the beer library, which is just around the corner from Gwen's Coffee House, or the Backstop. There's lots of options in town. That's just downtown Canby. And you've got other options off the highway as well. Because remember, here in Canby, a misconception is you drive through on 99 and what is there? It just looks like gas stations and fast food. What else is there? Oh, and a Fred Meyer and a Safeway, at the end of town. So what else is there other than just right off the highway? Well, you're going to have to make a right or a left turn off 99 to see that. So trust me, there is somewhere to go if you make a right or left turn, depending on the direction that you're going. There's a lot to offer. So that's Canby. But let's say you want to go to Oregon City. There's great options in Oregon City. Oregon City downtown is so charming and adorable. I keep using the word wonderful because it really is. It has this really neat, renewed downtown district that is worth checking out. There's great shops and restaurants down there. One of our family favorites is Mi Familia, which is a wood-fired pizza restaurant. It's delicious. We love going there. My kids love it. Really good pizza, not your run-of-the-mill delivery style. It's just really good. And there's also in Oregon City, if you're into food trucks, you have Corner 14, which is a neat selection of food trucks with outdoor seating that's covered, and they've got heaters and cool a fire pit on the table. They're really cool. I think they're cool anyway. So it definitely has a vibe. You can order cocktails inside, and across the street you have OC Brewing's flagship location where they also have food carts. So if you like casual dining, if you like more upscale dining, Oregon City has a lot of options as well. And then if you go south and you're going into towns like Aurora, Aurora is very charming. If you like to go antiquing, your discovery day or your trip to this area to uncover what's going on here could absolutely include going to the antique stores in Aurora. There's mid-century era antiques that you can find and other shops that will blow your mind with the stuff that is there. Just the history and the collections are really, really unique and wonderful. So definitely check out Aurora. So again, that's just a few options. And we're not even tapping into Mount Angel or Silverton, which are a whole other element of amazing things, which we'll go into those at another time. But that would be what I would suggest for your discovery day. If after all this conversation, you're starting to think that this area might be the place for you, here's what I'm going to ask you to do. Scan the QR code here that's on the screen, and that'll help you connect with me, because if you have questions about your discovery day, maybe you want some more options, you want to plan an itinerary, and you want a real local's perspective on where you should actually go visit, I would love to give you some pointers and tips on where to look, where to go. And if you want to drive neighborhoods, we can talk about that too and say, hey, we have a budget of $800 or $550 or whatever your budget is. I can point you to some areas where you can drive through and see what's going on in those neighborhoods. We can talk about your needs. We can assess what it is that we need to do moving forward. If you need a lender connection, that is what is going to be found at that QR code. And you're going to need a realtor for this. And I would love to be that person that helps you, because there's nothing I love more than sharing the area that I love with people who want to make this their home. So let's connect. Love to chat with you. So scan that QR code. So we've talked about a lot of things. Property taxes, what the different areas of this part of the world, what cities there are, what do you have to choose from? What is there to do when you come out here on your discovery trip to see if you actually like this area? So the final thing I would love to chat with you about before we wrap up would be, what's the market doing? Because of course, if you're going to be looking for a new home out in this neck of the woods, you're going to want to have an idea of what you can expect with the market. So here are the few things that I would tell you as to where things are right now as of the filming of this video, which it's April of 2025. So what we're seeing right now is that homes that are priced in the $500,000 range, just like a lot of places, are still moving very quickly. That is a very hot price point. It's attractive to a lot of people, not just first-time home buyers, but folks who are looking to simplify, maybe right-size their life. So that price point is moving very quickly. I would even argue in some cases in the 600s. Things that are in the 900s or higher, in that price point, you tend to see a lot more properties that are either larger homes or homes with a lot more land, or with shops and barns, or maybe equestrian properties and things like that. Those are taking longer to sell. But what I would say is overall, across the board, no matter what the price point is, we're seeing consistent but not frantic activity. So buyers have an opportunity to actually negotiate, have a conversation with the sellers. Maybe it's about concessions for closing costs, or maybe they want the seller to make some repairs. But sellers, you still have buyers coming in as well. So it's more balanced, which I think is good for everybody. And of course, there's nuances to particular neighborhoods or even particular cities. So again, when we connect, this would be a great opportunity for us to dive into the very local market that you are looking at for your future real estate purchase. That is what you should know from a local's perspective, the top things for you to consider before you make a move to Clackamas County or the North Willamette Valley. And I hope it was helpful. Thank you for hanging out with me today. And again, here's that QR code that you can scan it and we can connect if that's something you want to do. Would love to meet you, have a conversation, chat about whatever your needs are, what's bringing you to this area. Because again, I love to share the love of my home because it is quite special, and would love to invite you to be part of our awesome community. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Oh, follow my channel, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified, because if you like content like this and you want to know more about this area, I'm going to be sharing more information all the time. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.